Hey, what's up everybody? I'm the Zim. This is a Zim video. This is part 2 of my series called Success in Seattle Music. Or Success in Seattle Music Scene or something like that. Anyways, and this is just a reminder. This is not factual. This is an opinion-based commentary on the Seattle music scene based on my 20 odd years of being involved with it, plus my 2.5 plus years of doing the Word on the Street podcast, where I've been investigating exclusively and intentionally the culture of the Seattle music scene. And I decided to create a video series based on what I've kind of come up with as to what makes up our culture, because I think it's important, if you want to have success within a culture, to understand the culture. So that's why I'm making these videos. If you agree or disagree, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments and the like. So let's get started. This is part 2 of Success in Seattle Music, and this one I'm calling Incestuous. So ever since I've been a part of the scene, one of the first things I heard about it was that it's incestuous, meaning what that means is, another way to phrase it for me was, there's no such thing as a side project. So it means there's so many musicians that are shared by so many bands, and there's really not a lot to talk about the specific piece of that. There's a little bit of this that goes into the support conversation, what it means to support our scene and how our scene supports itself, and that's going to be an entirely another video. That's going to be another part of the series, the idea of support and how it works. So I'm going to leave that to that, but it overlaps with how our scene has so many musicians that play in so many bands and that kind of thing. It's just incestuous, as the term suggests. So that's really it. That's just one idea. But I wanted to take the idea and talk about, from my perspective, what it means to the scene and to the band, because it's so incestuous, and because there's so many bands that have many players that play in many different bands and stuff. And from my perspective, what it means is it lowers the chance of greater success for any one project, because musicians are playing in so many different projects. The way I see it, and this is very much designed for anybody that's in a band that wants that one band to go to greater success. I'm thinking mostly in the original, like, as you know, Word on the Street, the conversation around Word on the Street is mainly a conversation around the original music scene. It's not around cover bands. It's not around bands that are designed for just background music at venues, things like it. It's designed for the bands that want to create an original sound, kind of have a popular, quote-unquote, ethic to what they're doing, want to be exposed to a greater audience, or, in the vein, like, continuing the tradition of a lot of the bands that come before, all the grunge movement that came through, what was happening before, Jimi Hendrix, Heart, all that stuff, Death Cab for Cutie, Modest Mouse, Brandy Carlisle, Macklemore, any of the bands that want to have greater success with their music to a broader audience, coming out of the Seattle music scene. I think the fact that so many musicians play in so many different bands actually hurts the chances of any one band to achieve greater success. And let me explain why. The main reason why is because right now, in the current climate of what it means to be a musician, it's not good enough just to be a great musician or have a great sounding band. There are a couple ideas. A lot of people say, I put in a lot of work for my music. And one of those, when they define work, they define practicing, writing songs, playing shows. And that's really not the right kind of work. That's the given. That's what you need to be doing regardless. There is a whole bunch of other stuff that you need to do now within the current climate of the music industry, that is just a given, and that needs to happen, and you need to stack on top of that the things that go beyond that. And when you're playing in many bands, there's no way you can possibly have the amount of time to put toward all the other things that need to happen. And because the way I see it, there's way more, there's plenty, there's just so much stuff one band needs to be doing for their music, their career, that there isn't enough time to be playing with other bands. There isn't enough time to, you know, help out, you know, just playing other bands. One little idea I just thought of that I wanted to throw in here as well was part of this whole incestuous thing, and part of this, like, there seems to be like one person, there's one or so people in each band that wants that greater success for the band. However, it's not that important for another person in the band because they have their own project that they want that success for. So it's like there's these overlapping, you know, commitment levels. There's these overlapping desire levels to achieve success, and it makes it awkward. Whereas when you can find a collective of musicians that are all on the same page and want this one band to be their primary source, be their primary thing to elevate to the next level, that's when success will happen. So let me describe a few of the things that need to be done now within our current climate of the industry to have greater success, and why you don't have enough time to be in multiple bands. But, you know, one is really great recordings. You need to have a really great recording, and you need to constantly be putting out more recordings. You know, the day and age of an album lasting as long as it may have used to, you know, there was, you know, a cycle that was typically like you recorded an album 1 year, you toured the next year, you recorded, you toured, and that was like, you know, bigger level bands obviously, but it relates to the conversation of what we have here in our local scene as well, because you don't have that luxury anymore to wait a 2-year cycle before putting out more content, especially because it's harder and harder to bring people out to shows, and where people are is online, is on our computers. People want to access you and your band through the computer before they ever go see you live or anything like that. So with that album, once you create that album, once you create that body of music, you want to make up all the collateral for it. You basically want to make videos for every single song that comes out, or that, you know, that's on that album. So what does that mean? That's time and commitment. And so when you have that kind of time and commitment to put into creating videos, that's like, those are big projects. You shouldn't have enough time to be playing in another band if you're putting that commitment into just the video process, the recording process. But then I believe you should also, once you have your album or whatever it may be out, you should be releasing one-off singles here and there as well. So you should be going back in the studio constantly between the time you're making your next kind of bigger body of work, an album or a longer EP. That's something. There's also, with social media, with Instagram stories, Facebook stories, Snapchat stories, you need to be cultivating stories. You need to be, again, going back to just a lot of this revolves around where the audience is. The audience is online now. The audience is, their attention is online. Their attention is not going to shows. So you need to, you know, funnel your energy into what can you do with your online presence, and that means things like Snapchat, you know, cultivating a good Snapchat stories, Instagram stories, and Facebook stories. You know, tell people what's going on a daily basis almost, pretty much. I'm a firm believer that there's no such thing as posting too much on social networks. You want to constantly be posting updates, things that are going on, cool content, and not sales things that are actually you're involved with and you're doing on your daily basis, going to the studio, telling people what's going on, rehearsals, you know, getting ready for shows. There's just all these things. And so all those things take a little bit more time out of your schedule when you could be, you know, where you would be going to rehearse with another band. You should be devoting your attention to, you know, your online presence and your Snapchat stories and things like that. And then, I mean, just another practical example of this is, the whole reason I started the podcast for myself was a way to funnel attention toward the music that I make as well. I mean, it's for the community, but it's also like, and those are those types of things that, like, how can you take your project and make it bigger than it already is? And go like, what can we do with this project and make it more than just about the music? And that's essentially what Word on the Street is. The Zimin A-Rock is more than just the music, it's Word on the Street as well. Things like that. So it's like, how many different ways can you make your one project an outlet and make different things happen musically, visually, you know, media-wise, you know, become, like, one of the things I hear is, like, whatever you're creating needs to become a media outlet. So you curate, you know, whatever else is going around you as well. You help curate your community, and so it all funnels through your band, your project. And there's tons and tons and tons of different examples of where you should be devoting your energy toward rather than playing in a second band, because there's plenty of things. And I mean, just the bottom line of, I believe as well that bands need to tour more often, at least like twice a year. I think like a 1 week to 2 week tour twice a year is like a very good place to be. And any of you that have tried planning a tour know that it takes about 6 months to plan a tour. So you're looking at the entire year to help plan a tour. So if one person is devoted to that, what does that leave for any regional stuff they need to have, any local stuff they need? Where does it leave room to create videos and things like that? It cuts away the amount of time and energy you can have to put toward your own individual project if you're planning for a tour. So the more people within one band that are devoted to that one band and doing all the little jobs and all the little projects that need to happen to create more momentum and more kind of just information and more just excitement around that one band, the better. And which also means, again, that it means you shouldn't have time to be playing in multiple projects, especially with the way the Seattle music scene. There is no such thing as a side project. If there was an actual side project that nobody was trying to make a success out of and it was just a fun place to be, fine, do that. But unfortunately in our scene, the overlap of desire for success is too great, and there is no real side projects in our scene. They're all somebody in every band wants the greatest success for that band, and it makes it a very interesting thing. And what I said already, I believe it makes it harder for any one project to achieve greater success because of the division of attention that's been put onto one single project. So that's what I think. That's my take on part 2, which is the incestuous nature of the Seattle music scene. So hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out part 1, which I talked about what I believe are the 4 main parts of the 4 main types, I called it, of the Seattle music scene, the types of musicians and / bands that we have in our scene. So check that out, and I'll be, look out for more of this series as time goes on. Thanks a lot for joining, and always subscribe to this video channel. Give it a thumbs up if you like the ideas. Comment if you don't. Comment if you do. And I look forward to talking with you and hearing your thoughts around what it means to be a part of the Seattle and Northwest music community. Peace.